Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Own Your Gifts, episode 13, the grand finale. Boom. I've chosen to use that image instead because our intro, Joey, normally I think it says Danny and Joey are back, and Danny and Joey are going, mate. How you doing today, Joey?
I'm doing really good. We are going, but we also will be returning.
Coming
For
back
sure.
stronger.
Yeah, we're coming back stronger. We're gonna our next show, season 3, episode 1, will be on October 7th in the U.S., which would be the 8th of October in Australia. And we have some more guests lined up, and we also have everything. All the previous episodes and future episodes will be in podcast form and also on our own YouTube channel, which is super exciting.
Very cool, Joey. Yeah, thank you so much for all the hard work you do with that, Joey. If anyone out there is watching for the first time, welcome. And if you're joining us again, and for anyone who would like to look us up, and the podcast is now available, you can find the links attached to this post. I'm sure my legendary co-host, Joey Polaro, will continue working towards getting our reach out there further and sharing the links and what have you. How's your week been, Joey?
It's been pretty good, man. The fog has been lifted for the most part. I feel like I've been freed up a little bit. I recently acquired an energy healer to work with me, which is something I haven't experienced before. I have a program in recovery, and I have a lot of habits, rituals, and routines, and that I use to continue to grow. But I'm pulling out the big guns. There she is, Jen.
Hey, Jen.
Yeah,
hello, thanks for
Jen's
joining
an
us.
energy healer. And
there
we're going to
she
be
is.
working together, and I'm super excited about that. So yeah, it's overall it's been a really good week. I have an interesting day tomorrow. I got to accompany my brother, who he's 20 years younger than me. He's 27. He has lymphoma. He has cancer, and every other Friday he goes for chemotherapy. And my mother's working, so I'm going to be joining him, and that should be an interesting experience. It'll certainly give me something to be grateful for, and cultivate a little more compassion for humankind. And so, and it's also going to be kind of scary. It's tough to see people suffering and in pain. So I got that going on tomorrow. But everything's kosher, man. This is a big episode because what this is about is we're celebrating Danny and his 12 years of continuous sobriety, and that's including weekends. It's a big deal for people like us. 24 hours is a big deal, and I'm super proud of him, and even more grateful that we're in each other's life, and that to be able to witness and his level of commitment to spreading a message of hope and recovery and being selfless and continue to contribute beyond himself is something that I really admire. And so we're going to talk a lot about Danny's recovery today, but we do like to start off the show in a familiar way. Danny, would you like to start us off, or would you like to say something in reply?
Sure. Yeah. No worries, Joey. Thanks for the for what you've said, mate. And thank you to Jen too. I really appreciate that. Jen, excuse my cat's just jumped up here. I'm so blessed. My journey has been absolutely amazing to recovery, and I just love that we get the opportunity to share this stuff. And what's quite unique and strikes me as you were saying that stuff about we're going to talk about my recovery is that it's a bit funny because we've created this show and it's meant to be about other people, and now I've made it all about me for today's episode. So that's the thing. We can do that. I can do that. We can do that.
Yeah, you get 40 minutes once a year to make today this moment all about you. The rest of the
that's
time, you need to be giving.
Yeah, mate, and it's funny you say that because Joey, one of the things that I heard, and I'm sure this is over there in the States too, but they say like the first year, the first milestone, that first year is all about you, and every other one after that is about not about you. It's about carrying the message and sharing, I guess, hope with the rest of our community. You know, so I love that too. And to kick off the show, something that I did well today, and something that I could possibly do better tomorrow. Today, mate, I'm flying. Actually, it's been a really good morning. It started off just like every other morning around the exercise. You know, I got up pretty early and got involved in some rigorous exercise, which it does something different to me. You know, like it sparks my spirits for sure. But even more importantly, something I did really well today is I ran a group this morning with a bunch of men, and I'm just coming off shift from work as well. I'm not back for another week, and I don't know. I just really was able to acknowledge how lucky I am to be in a life where I get to share the message of recovery with people, and I've become pretty good at it. You know, like I've become pretty good at relating to people on a level that sparks this connection, and I love that I've got that ability to do that. So I'm really grateful for that, and it's something that I did good today. Something I could do better tomorrow. Something I need to work on. You know, when you're in really good mood, it's hard to see your defects.
Yeah, keep digging, man. Keep digging. You'll find. I'll give you a few seconds.
Surely there's something. No, great. Actually, I've got something I could do better tomorrow. Let's say you've got a meeting. I do, and this is how my whole recovery is. I jump into things head first, and I don't prepare. And it works for me generally. 95% of the time, this really works. So I would rather just switch off to any anxiety and stuff and just face it when I arrive. But I just noticed after getting off a very important business meeting that I should have been more prepared. So there's definitely something that I probably won't work on tomorrow, because my theory around just jumping in head first works. But it's something I need to learn. I need to put in a little bit more effort when preparing things, you know. So yeah, something I could do better. What about you, Joey?
I've done nothing well, and I have nothing to improve. No, I'm kidding.
All right.
So I'll start with what I did well today. I really rolled with the punches well today. You know, absolutely nothing went like it planned. And you know, typically that's a recipe for me, you know, really getting wound up tight. And when I'm in that state of mind, I'm really not much use to other people, and usually people get caught in the crosshairs. So the only thing that makes me able to put my best foot forward for the day, and make me fit to handle whatever curveball gets thrown at me is my morning routine. I have a non-negotiable morning routine that I never miss. And, you know, it runs on automatic. I don't ever have to think about it. And it prepares me for the day. No matter how the day goes, it puts me in a position to you know, I mean, obviously I make mistakes. I don't ace all days, but you know, I got thrown many curveballs today, and I kind of rolled with the punches, and I feel really good about that. So that's what I did well. What I could do better is I could do better being present, you know, in the moment, being more mindful. I'm having arguments with a person in my head, past arguments, future arguments that never took place. I don't know if anybody can relate to that. But it's, you know, at that point, I all my energy gets sucked out. I use a lot of resources having conversations that aren't even happening. They're not even there. I'm having them in my head. And, you know, I forget to look around, you know, and And I have mindfulness tools that I use, and it starts with awareness. And I must be getting some sort of payoff of winning these arguments, these imaginary arguments in my head. But I can do that a little bit better tomorrow. And it's, I have a solid recovery. I have a design for living that works for me. I coach, I teach, I speak, and it's important that we share that we're just humans amongst humans, and that, we have, we make mistakes and we fall down and we fuck up. And so that's really one of the reasons why I like to share that. And you talked about your gift of being able to relate and to connect with other people. And a big reason for that, and I don't necessarily think that's a skill. I actually think that's a gift. Obviously it can be worked on, but you're blessed with that. But a big part of that is like, what you see is what you get, like you're being authentic and you're bringing the real you to the table, and you're not scared to show your vulnerabilities. And that's how you connect with other people,
Thanks, Joey. Yeah, mate. And I also admire some of the stuff I just heard about you. Like, I know the work that you do outside of here, and yeah, and I look, I guess it's about being open-minded and always looking to be better people. That's what my journey of recovery is all about, learning when we can admit that we need help. And I like to copy people. I like to copy you, Joey. So, and I really appreciate your kind words too. And sorry about the cat going off in the background. My cat doesn't shut up. Like he anyway. So
what's he doing? But what's his deal? What's he want? Food?
I think I've been away for 48 hours at work. He just wants a bit of love, mate. That's all. He's got food, of course. He's got everything. He's got everything a cat could want. Yeah, thanks so much, Joey, for sharing that stuff. I remember joking years ago when I was facing the room having an argument with someone who's not there. Oh yeah, I relate to that too, Jen, and you too, Joey. And this is where I talk about my self-care kicking in, and I go, shut the fuck up, Danny. And I say that many, many times during the day. I say it so often that I don't even realize I say it anymore. And really, that's just about that awareness of not allowing myself to plug into the negativity, I also think we enjoy our defects. When you're in that stuff, I think you do it so much, or we do it so much, because we enjoy a bit of pain. Like, we like to, it's self-pity or something like that,
There's a payoff. For me, it's significance. I'm winning those fucking arguments. Absolutely. You know what I mean? I'm winning them hands down. You know what I mean? And I'm getting the last word. And you know what? It makes me feel powerful, and it's just insane. And I actually used, I laughed after I did it, because it made me think of you. I used the shut the fuck up, Joey. Like, that's your tool. And so, like, and when I said it, I could picture you saying it, and I was kind of giggling in my car because I was having this, imaginary conversation while I was driving, which probably isn't that safe to boot. But I would like to, Danny, would you want us to spend a few minutes, like, sharing with me and sharing with our audience, I don't know, maybe some decided heart moments in your process of recovery, some turning points, some, possibly, what got you to choose a path of recovery. I guess some of the hurdles and obstacles along the way, where you've had to, that maybe you fell and had to get back up again and in order to stay in the game. And, and some of the gifts associated with a life of recovery. Will you be open to spend a few minutes talking to us about that? This is about you.
Of course, Joey. It's about me. I'd love to share, but it's really I'd be honored to share some of the stuff, and thanks for all those questions. So I will go back a little bit. For me, I often like to acknowledge that I think I had a pretty decent childhood, and the reason I say that, first of all, is because when I first started to enter recovery, and I would be surrounded by people like, let's just say, for example, in the fellowship, you can hear a lot of horrific stuff around certain parts of my story that I could strangely not identify with. But after at the end of the day, what I realized after 17 years of attempting to get clean and sober and knowing my life was out of control was just realizing that obviously I was fucked and I needed help, regardless of what my sort of childhood came about. And in saying that, like, I minimize that stuff a lot too, because I was one of my role models was my father, who taught me every single thing in the world you could possibly need to know wrong about doing life as well, But my mum was this beautiful spirited, and my dad's a beautiful spirited man too, absolutely. But there was yin and yang going on, and the darkness prevailed in me, and I just followed, I guess, his path and his direction. But so yeah, there was a lot of my using was very, very messy. It was jails, institutions from a young age. Like, I was in detox and rehabs because I had this loving mum. Right? It's like I would attempt to get clean, or I'd attempt to get some help. So I'd go to all these places time after again. But the minute I'd get there, the minute I'd sober up, I'd straighten up, I'd bounce. I'd leave straight away too. So there was a lot of and look, it was very messy, and there's the fact that my using was it was disgusting. Like, it was at times homelessness. I won't go into vivid details, but when I say disgusting, I'm talking about sharing stuff and just and the places that I took myself to were it's horrible when you think back, especially being a kid doing that stuff. But you know what? Finally, after a long time and many attempts at getting clean, I managed to basically enter my last treatment episode, which is back on the 15th of September 2009. I know we've talked about that stuff, and you and I also share a very similar sobriety date. Same. Well, you're in August, weren't you? And I'm in September, but within the same month. So, and look, I did. It's simple as this. I made a different decision for the first time in my life. I stopped fighting. I surrendered, actually, a little bit. I surrendered enough to not pick up, and my life dramatically changed from that day forward. Even though a lot of it took a long time to overcome, a lot of my habits. I shouldn't go into too much detail, but my early days of recovery were quite messy as well. I didn't stop a lot of my behaviors for sure too. But I slowly started to hear the message of hope, and that I realized that change was really necessary if I was going to make this. I looked up to a lot of people with time up, and I admired what they had, and I wanted to have that. And I've worked really, really hard for the last 12 years to build a life worth living. I heard somewhere in those early days that, Danny, if you don't want to use again, you need basically to build yourself an amazing life, a life that you don't ever want to give up. And I didn't necessarily have that thought pattern, but that's what's happened. That's been the outcome. I've built myself a life worth living, and I don't ever want to go back and lose it. And it's incredibly scary to lose that stuff too, but we got to keep it in the day. Just for today, I will continue soldiering on and being a part. See, recovery is an action, like gratitude is an action. I can't just sit back and take it. I've got to do it. That's what I do every day. So yes, this week, just Wednesday, 2 days ago, I celebrated 12 years. And your words in the post were continuous sobriety. And I guess at 12 years of continuous sobriety, that's 144 months. That's 144 dry Julys that I've managed to pull off. Anyway, I want to say, look, it's really easy for me today, Jerry. It really is. Like, when I say it's easy, like, compared to it was back then. Life is so different. I
Would you
love.
say it's routine and it's habit? And you know, when things become routine and things become habit, we need to use less energy to make them run. They start running in a system. They start running automatically. I'm sure you don't have to think whether you're gonna, you know, pick up your recovery literature today, or you're gonna pick up the phone and call a brother or sister in recovery, or you're gonna get to a meeting, or you know, you're gonna do, you know, practice a random act of kindness, or whatever it is you do on a daily basis to stay away from a drink, or at least one step ahead of a drink for
So
today.
yeah.
You know, when we put consistency in our life, those things start to run on automatic, you know, and we have to expend less energy and put less effort. We're doing the same stuff, but it feels more effortless because it's habit. Would you say that that's accurate?
Yeah, of course, Joanne. Especially when you get clean, when you've come from this life of carnage and whatever it is, mess, right? And then you start to hear those things in the early days. Like everyone knows, I think, basically, when setting any goals towards our future, we need to make a bit of a routine and a plan. But it's hard to take that on in the early days, isn't it? Like we know, of course, it's so simple. Of course, I need a routine, but um, and for me, I needed to be in treatment. I was in the treatment center that helped me get that direction. You know, I just want to say hello to Matthew. You're an absolute legend, Matty. Thanks for joining us, mate. I really appreciate it. But yeah, routine was something that, thank God, I was forced upon me in the beginning, but I just never stopped doing it. And today, it doesn't feel like routine at all. It's actually 100% habitual. I will not go a day without doing pretty much everything I do. Maybe one day a month, I will literally take a mental health day, and I never usually call it that, but I'll just go, nah, fuck it. I'm going to stay on that lounge and do nothing. But actually, that usually lasts for 2 hours, and then I'm out there doing it anyway. So, if it makes any difference, and hello to Cynthia for joining us too. If it makes any difference, what seemed like a lot of pressure and how am I ever going to do this just became completely natural. It's just a way of life today. You know, my routine, my structure, all the stuff I do is so simple, you know, it's just there.
I love it. So, you know, you said something that really struck a chord with me. And it's, I guess, somebody you had heard it in a meeting. And, you know, one of the ways we could stay sober a day at a time is to create a really good life for yourself. And you know, that's a piece, you know, a future vision, a who, right? Instead of, you know, a lot of times, especially in recovery or in therapy, you know, there's a whole lot of talk about uncovering why, you know, and there's very little talk about who, right? But it's important that we have that future vision. I didn't catch that. It took me 6 years to catch on to that one.
Yeah, sure.
Like, I didn't know that I didn't know that I wanted to be, how I wanted to show up in the world, how I wanted to contribute to the world, what I wanted to create. I thought that I had to work my way back and continue to peel away layers and shed to get back to who I originally was. But I never had any peace before I even picked up.
Nah, that's a good point.
I needed to create something new for myself, and I needed to know that I had the power to choose that. And I didn't know that. I had to get in a lot more pain and recovery in order for me to begin jumping into the stream of life and know that I get to design the type of person that I want to be. And then, you know, what I do on a daily basis needs to be aligned with that and working towards that, you know. And the vision part is gigantic. And it took me a long time to catch on to it. And still, in order for me to hold that vision, it takes some effort, you know, specifically, writing about it, visualizing it, affirming it, believing it, like I already have it. That takes some work. But that's huge, and that's that's a message that you received in a 12-step room. I never received that message. Maybe I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Joey, just on that, I think, I love what you just said. Because it's a thing. There's another saying. It's not your old life all polished up. It's a brand new life, So I'm not the person I was, absolutely not. And something I did, and I always encourage everyone to do this, is dream big, like fantasize, like go for the top. I copy people. If someone had a life that I liked, a sponsor maybe, or a mentor, or just someone out there in the fellowship, I copied people a lot. I literally had to, because I had no living skills. I couldn't talk to anyone. I used to ride a bike, right? Listen to this. I don't think I've said this. In my early days of recovery, like literally I'm 2 years, I used to have a push bike that I used to ride to every meeting. And the reason was it was really strategic. It was so I could get there at the last minute. It was so I didn't have to bump into people at the bus stop. It was so as soon as the meeting finished, I could get on my bike and piss off. Like, it was because I didn't like people. I was scared shitless of people. I love, and I still love, saying hello, how are you, being nice, quickly, 30 seconds, small talk. But whenever it gets deep and meaningful, I go under. And I still am a little bit like that. I've learned today to embrace what I'm really good at, which is I'm really good at welcoming, sharing. I'm really good at making people feel good, and whether it's calling them by name and stuff, but I'm not a deep type of person, So I focus on my assets, and I become the guy who I watched, the guy I liked, I dream big, mate, and I think we can make every single dream come true. We're amazing addicts, people in recovery. We're very talented people, we can do anything we want.
Yeah, certainly. The amount of persistence and obsession and effort, relentless effort to go after what we needed when we were out there. If we could align that with the higher good, or healthier goals, and channel that same effort towards something better for us and better for the world. I mean, why not? You mentioned the still struggling with really getting close with other people, and I think that's a common thread with people in recovery, is the inability to form real intimate relationships with other human beings. And still, for me to this day, it's very uncomfortable, and it always feels like a risk. But I'm getting it better and better and better every single day. And I really think it boils down to, it has a whole lot less to do about other people, and it has a whole lot more to do with how I feel about me. And as I learn to be more gentle with myself and give myself permission to be human, and learn to forgive myself and love myself and treat myself with respect, I get a little better of connecting with other people. And it has nothing to do whether if I like people or not. It has to do with my fear of, like, they're going to think about me what I think about me, which, there's nobody who could think about me or treat me as rough as I can treat myself. That's what I really think it's about. And it's definitely a common thread, being in rooms of recovery for 12 years and working with others, both in the rooms and outside of the rooms. That's certainly it's a common thread that runs amongst addicts, but I think more than anything, it's a human condition. And I think possibly people aren't aware of it, or open to talk about it, because nobody wants to talk about this shit. It's
so true, man. We've got someone just celebrating 1 year clean today. I'm so sorry I forgot your name. Congratulations. Hey, Joey, do you know? Yeah, it's that inside job stuff, isn't it? Like, you can polish it all up to make it look certain way, and you can build relationships that aren't real with anyone. Like it can be bullshit, like that's easy. That's easy. I can do that. I don't do that actually at all, unless I have to these days. But yeah, and actually, intimate relationships, like I mean, a relationship with some sustenance takes time and it takes a lot of work. It's not easy. And thank God for me, I've only got maybe three solid people in my life, um, friends that I've put a lot of work into. That's and I continue to keep trying to work on that stuff, But yeah, I do love that. Um,
What a gift it is to have somebody, and this is a direct product of recovery. And the type of life that we live is to have somebody that truly you can trust 100%. I never trusted anybody when I was out there. That's one of the reasons why I'm still alive. I kept everybody at arm's length. You were guilty until proven innocent. That doesn't work. It worked on the streets. It doesn't work at as somebody who's trying to live a full, sober, useful life. And part of me doing that is having fulfilling relationships. And that requires letting people in. That requires getting vulnerable with other people. That requires like putting my trust in other people. That requires putting my heart on the line. And these are things that I did not do until I was well into recovery. And still I do it purposefully, because I know I need to do it. And I know that each time I take that risk, whether I end up getting hurt or not, I grow. And that's super important. I know that's the way. And usually if it's really, really uncomfortable for me, if it's not a dangerous situation, if I'm seeing red lights, it's usually I should look at them as green lights, because I will lean away from anything that's outside of my comfort zone, and growth doesn't exist within my comfort zone. It doesn't exist in the same space, and that or opportunity for anything, whether that be opportunity for business or relationships or anything else.
You got to get out of the way sometimes, Joey?
Yeah.
Of yourself. Hey, yeah, I think that's so true. But like when I talk about relationships, it's quite weird, because I'm not a big fan of them. They're really hard work and what have you. But I also want to just acknowledge that I know that very cliche thing that the opposite to addiction has been my connection too. So I guess my message is it's okay to work out what works for you. So for me, what works for me is probably actually a lot less than. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I guess just like with those relationships and staying connected with people, I'm a bit of a loner in some ways, But you know what? I'm a part of everything, just in small doses, It's not. I don't feel like I'm not a part of that group or that group. I am, but I'm just in my group as well, So sorry, that's a bit hard to explain what I'm trying to say, but
no, I think I understand you. Tell me if I'm right. And I think it's important to acknowledge that there's a difference between solitude and isolation.
100%, Joey.
Would you say that when you were out there, running and gunning and do what you do, that you were able to sit with yourself? I will probably say that wouldn't be likely, unless you had a pile of drugs and then
I wish I had the energy.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I wish I had the energy I used to have. Like, I was just a fucking machine. I just would not stop. I was in this relentless pursuit to get and next and what's next. And no, I never sat with myself, mate, ever. Especially when you're on methamphetamines, which I was for the last 6 years of my using, as well as 120 mils of methadone, probably 2 grams of pot, some pills, it was, it's, I don't know that classes as being in touch with yourself,
Yeah. And, I wrote a little bit about, when I reposted, the post for this show, I wrote a little, and I was able to hear a talk today about miracles and people who lived the way that we lived, the fact that you're alive is a full-blown miracle.
It's a miracle.
And like, we can't take credit for that. However, I do believe that we were spared for a reason. And that reason is what we're doing here today. And that is to take all that adversity and all that pain and all that failure and turn them into fuel to be of service to others, to spread a message of hope, to spread a message of gratitude, to spread a message of life, that we can design a life for ourselves. It doesn't matter how low you are. It doesn't matter where you are now. It doesn't matter where you've been. You can, there's possibility is huge. And I could say for myself that, you know, any idea of what I thought was possible wasn't even the same ballpark of what's actually possible. And I still, to this day, I still can get myself in the way and live in with very limited thinking, and have limits on possibility. But the truth is there are no limits on possibility. The only thing that gets in the way is what's between my ears.
Dream big, bro. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, for sure, Joey. Like, we're very blessed for that. The opportunities that come, and if anyone's out there listening to, and maybe in early days of recovery, or just celebrated 1 year recovery, life is so different to what I expected. And I just, like, the journey that I've been on the last 3 years is my biggest celebration. Absolutely. Like, even just being here right now doing this with you, the ability to even know how to do that has been quite a learned process, you know. But I'm talking about business as well, you know, business outside of my full-time career, which is like a drug and alcohol caseworker, manager, counselor in a service. So much more opportunities available, you know. And that goes back to that thing, like, life is just so different to what I thought it was going to be. And it is my job as a man in recovery, but also as a human being today, to share the message of recovery. I don't shove it down anyone's throat ever. I just share my experiences, I guess, you know. And if you like it, join us. You know, if you don't, that's fine too.
So we are getting towards the end of the show. I want to acknowledge, and again, Danny, congratulations on 12 years. It's a big deal. Stay on top of it. You know, I could say for me, there's two things I know for certain. And I think the longer in recovery I am, the less I know how it works. But I do know that where I need to be to ensure that I keep the pain close and the gratitude close. And if those two things don't get too far away, I have a shot to stay sober today. I know that I don't ever have to drink again, but I absolutely will drink again if I don't stay on top of my recovery. And that requires me addressing my disease on a daily basis. I get one step ahead of my disease. I don't gain on it with years of recovery. I don't bank meetings. I don't get too well. It's waiting for me. So I need to be very conscious of that disease. And fortunately, I know how to treat it today. And you know, with being a part of a 12-step community, and with how I supplemented it with other modalities, I have a design for living where I'm at peace most of the time. And that is a flat out miracle. So we like to wrap up the show with sharing something to generate the highest of highest forces, gratitude, and my number one spiritual tool, and a tip, a tool, an exercise, a hack, something that somebody can use that's simple, quick, and effective to plug into that force, which is huge for so many different reasons. Not only physiological benefits, neurological benefits, mental benefits, emotional benefits, physical benefits. For me, the most important thing is it shuts my brain off. If I'm paying attention to gratitude, my negative thinking is shut off. It's not even like it's quieter. The faucet gets shut off, because both of those things can't exist in the same space. So I have something, an exercise, and it's a standard gratitude practice. The simplest way is to just I like to write. I like to add, you know, some more senses into it. I think it's important that I write it and I see it, and it's not always that way. But you know, writing things that actually aren't happening. You know, like I'm grateful I don't live in Afghanistan, or you know, I'm grateful I don't have to cover my tracks today in a bunch of lies that I told to other people because I'm an honest person, or you know what, I'm grateful that I'm not incarcerated today. You know, so you can be grateful for things that aren't happening. It's I know when we're having a consistent gratitude practice, it's really hard to come up with new things all the time. So when I get stuck, I find myself saying the same things all the time. I try to go to what's something that isn't happening that could be happening that I'm grateful for. So that's my tip.
Beautiful, Joey. Mate, I like what you just said. When we're doing this each week, it kind of all ties in together, doesn't it? This is the goal. This is what the show has been about. You know, plugging into the higher forces of gratitude, sharing our tips, tricks, hacks around doing that. Mine's pretty simple, and it's been a pretty simple message each week. And I know it comes down to 2 or 3 core ideas. Kindness. You know, my number one factor for feeling so good and having a smile on my face so often is because I'm an extremely kind person. I don't mean to blow my horn. I'm just saying, like, I practice kindness all the time. I love to make other people smile. And if it means I go to a tiny little bit of effort to make them smile by calling them by their name, doing something for them, giving somebody else a compliment, acknowledging the wonderful things that somebody else does. This is so simple. And I used to think that what a waste of time. Why would you do that? But it's been my number one thing that's promoted my levels of happiness, I think. And a second one that I talk about all the time is dream big, you know, like fantasize your wish. There's nothing wrong with that stuff. Like, definitely throughout my addiction, I had lots of fantasy, but I never followed up with any kind of healthy action. You know, today I know my life is heading in the right direction because I follow other people. I follow other people's direction. So I have many dreams, and I see my life transforming in the next 12 months even. And I will do everything I can to pursue that. One of the most beautiful compliments I was given, actually, Joey, is that I have a relentless drive to pursue my dreams. You know, I remember someone on LinkedIn said that to me, and I thought, fuck, what a beautiful comment to say, because I kind of have been a bit like that, you know. And just lastly, I want to say that don't be afraid to be passionate, you know, because I overthought shit so much in my early days of recovery. If you want something, and if what you want to share with people is appropriate, share it. Don't be afraid to be brave and share it with people, because you'd be absolutely amazed on the amazing things that can happen as a result of us sharing our passion with the world.
You muted yourself. You're muted. You're muted, Danny. Your microphone's off. All right.
How long did I mute myself for?
Like the last 5 or 10 seconds.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah, I'm sure cool. I'm sure you didn't say anything important. Okay.
There's no nuggets of gold then. Shit. All right, it's 43 minutes. Everyone who has joined us over the last
thank you, everybody.
few months, you guys are absolute legends. Thank you so much for your encouragement. Please, there is a podcast. The link's in the bio. Please jump on to the podcast. Leave us a review. One of the things we very often get is people who join us regularly, but they don't comment because of whatever reasons. I completely acknowledge that. If you wouldn't mind jumping on, if we're making a difference in anyone's life, I'd love for you to share that in our review section, or just give us a rating or whatever, mate. Hey Joey, and also we're open to the possibility of coming back strong next season, which is just in a couple of weeks, with any new ideas around what you guys would like to hear from us, guests that we should be interviewing, and so on and so on. So thank you everyone for your support. Joey, you are the brains behind the operation. Absolutely. You know, I love your creativity around your writing. Absolutely. And the knowledge that you bring to this show has also been very valuable, mate. Thank you.
We're a good combination. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll be back October 7th in the U.S., which will be the 8th in Australia. And everybody stay cool.
All right, Joey, let's end. Thanks, guys. I end the broadcast.